Hello everyone and welcome back to the Attic Crawl Space. On Monday, we answered a question many viewers had been wondering about: what's behind that tiny little door back there when my kids escaped at the end of our Closer Look. Now, a lot of people online have said they were adorable and too cute for words, and I assure you they are. In 9-second chunks. Also, some of you might be looking at me right now wondering, does Seth know he's already worn that shirt? And yeah, I know. I promise you I know. And I do wish I had a deeper roster of shirts, but in my defense, no one warned me multiple times about the possibility of a pandemic because I'm not the president. That's a segue. And now, even after ignoring those warnings, the president is pushing to prematurely reopen the economy, threatening to repeat the same mistakes he made at the start of this crisis. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. When Donald Trump was elected in 2016, this was exactly the kind of nightmare scenario everyone was afraid of. What would happen in a global crisis if the most powerful man in the world was a racist game show host who's failed at virtually everything in his life except for pretending to be a successful businessman on TV? And he's not even good at pretending. I mean, look at him pretending to be president. He just stares directly into the camera and he can't even be bothered to at least put some fake documents on his desk. You can almost hear the dial tone blasting out of the phone. He looks like a tourist taking a photo on the set of Deep Impact. Wow, is this the phone Morgan Freeman used? You know, everyone freaked out about the asteroid in that movie, but it ended up being no worse than the common everyday flu. The point is, this is the crisis everyone feared. In fact, before Trump took office, President Obama's outgoing team tried to prepare Trump's incoming team for this exact scenario. A scenario experts had warned about for years.
Days before Donald Trump took office, some of President Obama's advisors walked the incoming president's team through a hypothetical scenario remarkably like the one we are living through now. It was a briefing on what would happen if a quick-spreading virus were to race through London and Seoul. And in that scenario, they presented governments imposing travel bans. There were shortages at hospitals across the country. And today, roughly 2/3 of those Trump administration officials who participated in that simulation are no longer in government.
That's right. Most of the Trump officials who worked for him back then aren't even there anymore. They're either in jail, on Fox News, or in the bargain bin at a Barnes & Noble. Hi, excuse me, this Sean Spicer book only has blank pages? Huh, look at that. I guess you're the first person to ever open one. This White House has more staff turnover than a Six Flags over summer break. They even made the Six Flags mascot Commerce Secretary. What Obama's team should have done is run a simulation for what would happen when a sociopath president dismisses repeated warnings from intelligence officials and public health experts that a pandemic is coming and fires anyone who's done any planning for it. Okay, so the first thing you would do in that case is you'd call up Netflix and you'd get them to release an emergency bonus episode of Tiger King ASAP. You know, think of it as a, I don't know, where are they now situation. You know, maybe someone got new teeth. And again, you know, obviously let's pray it never comes to this. In fact, as we've now learned, one former Trump official, Homeland Security Advisor Tom Bossert, was part of a group of people trying to warn the government in a series of exchanges called the Red Dawn emails. The emails were nicknamed after the 1984 Patrick Swayze movie, but if you're going to pick a Swayze movie, I feel like Ghost would have been a better choice since the government's response is clearly being led by one. I mean, yikes. Look at him. Jared Kushner looks like he just appeared out of nowhere after someone read an Edgar Allan Poe story into a cracked mirror and then demanded you pay for the mirror. It's weird that the public health response is being led by a guy who looks like he would sneak into your hospital room and pinch your IV line closed until you told him where the microfilm was. It's a simple question. So in those Red Dawn emails, we found out that Bossert and others had expressed concerns about Trump's slow and incoherent response. Like, for example, when Trump announced a hasty and confusing European travel ban that led to jam-packed airports in cities like Chicago, after there were already documented cases of community spreading here in the U.S., Bossert wrote, "Can anyone justify the European travel restrictions scientifically? Seriously, is there any benefit? I don't see it, but I'm hoping there is something I don't know." That's how we all feel, but it's never the case. With Trump, things are always exactly as they seem. For example, we see him using every muscle in his face to squint at the teleprompter like he's staring at a magic eye poster and say, I think the president can't see, but I'm hoping there's something I don't know. And then you tune into his unhinged Rose Garden press conference Tuesday night, in which he announced in the middle of a global pandemic that he was pulling funding from the World Health Organization, and you see this.
I instructed my team to use the Defense Production Act, and the Defense Production Act was used very powerfully. All of the aid that we send will be discussed at very, very powerful letters. We see light. We're starting to see it more than ever before. We've held our rate, the numbers, everything we've done. We've been very, very strong on it and very powerful on it.
He sounds like a guy on a date getting lines through an earpiece and the feed just cut out. The light in your eyes is so, well, it's lighty. I mean, they're your eyes, you know. Also, I like when his brain melts, his go-to words are strong and powerful. It's like listening to a focus group on advertising for pickup trucks. Okay, folks, what are some words that might make you want to buy a Ford F-150? Strong, powerful, very powerful. That'd be another word for me, if you want to put that down for me. And by the way, that's the guy news networks have decided to air unfiltered during a national emergency, the guy who can't even read his own script. If that's the kind of content you want cable networks, just take a live feed of my grandpa at his next eye exam. And by the way, it doesn't make it better when you give it a negative chyron like CNN did on Monday with angry Trump turns briefing into propaganda session. You know what else turned that into a propaganda session? Pointing your camera at it. Before you showed up, it was just crazy lawn man does his thing. You can't air a propaganda session and criticize it. It's like if MTV had aired Jersey Shore with the disclaimer, change the channel, this show sucks. And that is what it was, a propaganda session. In fact, the White House edited together a campaign-style video highlighting Trump's various statements about the crisis, and Trump actually had people inside your government, paid with your tax dollars, make that video.
Ask about the video, because I've never seen a video like that played in this room. It looks a bit like a campaign ad. Who produced that video for you?
That was done by a group in the office.
This was produced here in the White House.
Yeah, this was done by Dan and a group of people.
Oh, it was done by Dan and a group of people? First of all, it's funny that it was only Dan who got named and everyone else who was complicit in this bull got lumped into a group of people. Trump knows how to accidentally shame someone by giving them credit for something terrible. Dan, do you want to come up here and talk about the propaganda video you made with taxpayer dollars? You're shaking your head no, Dan. Dan, do you want to come up here? Dan, show everyone your face and take credit for this thing you did. Dan, no, Fauci, how about you, Fauci? You want to say a few words about Dan? Made you touch your face again, Fauci. This guy. I love you, Fauci. Particularly, Trump keeps touting his ban on travel from China, but according to experts, the ban only served to buy the White House time to ramp up testing and hospital capacity and start community mitigation efforts, time they wasted. And when he was asked to explain what he did with all that time in February, Trump decided to get into a fight with the reporter, Paula Reed of CBS, who asked the question.
Thousands of lives by
time that you bought. The argument is that you bought yourself some time and you didn't use it to prepare hospitals. You didn't use it to ramp up testing. Right now,
you're so disgraceful. It's so disgraceful the way you say that. Let me just listen. I just went over it.
Or this rant supposed to make people feel
I just went over
in
it.
an unprecedented crisis.
Nobody thought we should do it, and when I did it.
But what did you do with the time that you bought?
You know what
the
we
month
did?
of February. That
we
video
did?
was a gap.
What do you
The entire
do?
month of February.
What do you do when you have no case in the whole United States?
You had cases
when
in February.
excuse me, you reported it. 0 cases, 0 deaths on January 17th.
January, February, the entire
January,
month of
I said in
February. Your video
January.
has a complete gap.
On
Month of
January
February.
30th.
What did your administration do in February with the time that your travel ban bought
A
you?
lot.
What?
A lot. And in fact, we'll give you a list.
Dan, can you get us that list you made of everything we did in February? You're shaking your head no, Dan, but I know you have a list of everything we did in February that this lady's asking me about. The February list, Dan. It'll be between the January list and then the March list. Dan, don't make me tell everyone your last name, Dan. It's Scavino. Also, thank you for reminding Trump to his face that there are real-world consequences here for the thousands who have died and their loved ones, the nearly 20 million who've lost their jobs, the millions who've lost their health insurance, the courageous healthcare professionals putting themselves in danger on the front line, and all the essential workers delivering mail-in packages and working at grocery stores and on public transit and doing all the hard, dangerous work while the rest of us surf to the bottom of Netflix looking for another trashy reality show to watch. Honey, have we watched Island yet? Oh, right. Yeah, we did. Oh, wait. Honey, there's a new bonus episode. Oh, they got divorced, honey. Yeah. I guess once the couples got back from the mainland, they realized the connections they made on Island weren't as enduring as they'd been led to believe. I guess romance is dead, honey. And now Trump is once again rushing to prematurely reopen the economy, even though public health experts have nearly unanimously warned that such a move could lead to a second wave of the outbreak. Dr. Fauci warned about this on Sunday. Bill Gates said we won't go back to normal until there's a vaccine. Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel said concerts, conferences, and sporting events likely won't return until fall 2021 at the earliest. And a Harvard study said yesterday some social distancing measures may be needed until 2022. So yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch every episode of Island with the director's commentary on. You know, we were originally gonna do it on an isthmus, but we thought isthmus was too hard to say, so we went with an island. And yet, our split personality president has in a matter of days gone back and forth between claiming he has unquestioned authority to unilaterally force states to reopen their economies to suggesting he'll simply work with states to allow them to implement their own plans.
There's a debate over what authority you have to order the country reopened. What authority do you have?
Well, I have the ultimate authority. The President of the United States has the authority to do what the President has the authority to do, which is very powerful. The President of the United States calls the shots. I have the absolute right to do if I want to. This is when somebody's the President of the United States, the authority is total. And that's the way it's got to be.
The authority is total.
It's total. It's total.
Again, I think part of the problem here is Trump only knows like 3 words, which include absolute, powerful, and total. He uses the word total the way teenagers use the word random. My authority is like so total. President and his allies ignored repeating warnings that a pandemic was coming, and now in the face of that evidence, he's pushing to prematurely reopen the economy and repeat all the same mistakes over again. When the time for an accounting comes, we must remember that this was not inevitable and that a long sequence of failures led to this moment. And if you have trouble remembering,
We'll give you a list.
this has been a closer look. City Harvest is New York City's largest food rescue organization, and now they're working hard to support local families who are out of work due to the COVID-19 pandemic. If you're watching this online, please hit the donate button. Stay safe, wash your hands. We love you.